This is the Bush Whisperer coming at you from the beautiful Penguin Sanctuary, Cape Town, Cape Agulhas, southern tip of Africa, Simonstown. This morning was a truly magnificent sunrise. Beautiful, breathtaking, and totally captivating. The first time I've been able to actually directly observe the sun in quite a long time, since the weather has been rainy, grey, what other people would call miserable, but what I call beautiful. Though seeing the sun is highly inspiring for me, touches a special spot in my heart. Sorry, I had to admonish my son because he was throwing stones at the penguins, 6-year-olds. I gave him some harsh words, direct words. Discipline is fundamentally important, especially when it comes to animals, and decency in the way that we behave toward nature. The sun can fill the heart with such beautiful emotions and bring one to such a state of energetic alignment that one's heart becomes filled with beauty and one's mind becomes attuned. And so today what I've got to talk to you about is attunement. What is attunement? Attunement is, from a shamanic perspective, aligning oneself with particular rhythmic impulses and patterns of the vibrational spectrum of reality. For there are many different vibrational tones within reality. And one can choose to attune with any of the vibrational tones. And we're going to get back to considering how the universe is constructed in terms of the unity becoming three aspects: mind, energy, and manifestation, the three aspects of consciousness. And these three aspects are three great beings, which essentially preside over 7 great beings, which are, shall we say, the children of these 3 great beings from a metaphor. And that means permutations of these 3. For if you take 3, you can create 7 permutations therefrom mathematically. And thus is the universe structured through the ray of 7, and this becomes the emanations of 12 in the macrocosm in the world around us. For 7, when we create their polarities, creating a beginning and an ending polarity for the sun and the moon, you gain 5 extra sets of polarities, which is 10 plus 2, which is 12. The mystic number becoming 13. So when we look at the 7 rays, from a shamanic perspective, the sun is the bringer of the life. The Great Spirit moves through the sun and blesses us with the beauty and the life, which is the energy of the sun, bringing to us the consciousness field, bringing to us the life force that animates our bodies, what the Chinese call qi, what the Vedic cosmologists call prana, what in the Western tradition has been called ether. And this is an animating principle. It's a life force principle that flows through all things and all people and all beings, connecting all beings to each other through the quantum entanglement field. For this is a subspace vibrational field in terms of the space that we are recognizing as the normal spatial parameters of time and space and matter. I'm trying not to get too verbose here. So these 7 rays, these 7 great beings, can be accessed very easily through the sun. And the easiest way to access them is across water. For water is diamagnetic. Water creates the polarities. And this morning as I was watching, I stare at the sun. You'll notice if you're a sun gazer that there are different fields of color around the sun at different times and during different times of the day. It's not a physical field of color. It's an etheric field of color that will become attuned to one's eyes, or one's eyes shall become attuned to this frequency of perception, where one can see the ethers directly and obtain the understanding of which particular vibrational frequency, intelligence, being, or consciousness is working through the sun at that particular time. And this is an oscillating field of beings operating cooperatively. And so if you observe the sun as it's bouncing across water, I do it with the sea, very powerful. You'll notice that there's a golden hue as the sun is rising. And early in the morning is the best time, and it's the only time you can really do it because of the angle of the light. Or in the evening, when the sun is setting, you could do it too. And you will notice that there are certain colors that reflect off the water, and these colors seem to be changing quite fast. You'll notice if you watch it for a while that the colors oscillate, and there's a subtle field of color behind the other colors that you can start to become aware of. And there might be a reddish pinkish hue in the background that will become a golden hue, yellow golden hue in the background. It will become a violet hue in the background, or a green hue, or a purple hue. And obviously there'll be ranges of yellow going to red with orange, and the blue will have a range from the lighter blue to the indigo spectrum. So there are essentially all 7 colors that one can experience in subtle vision. And I'm calling it subtle vision because these are part of the organ of the eye, physically, its capacity. In order to perceive etheric energy, the eye shifts the chemical states that the optic nerve is resonating with. And we're talking about the resonant frequencies of the nervous system and the way in which the hormones and the chemical triggers that move the information between the optic nerve through the nervous system to become an emotional impression through the hormonal field, Idam Pingala, the way they operate through the left and right eye. One eye tends to see form more, and the other eye tends to see color more. You might notice this if you observe the way your vision works. So observing this light refracting and observing the subtle impression behind the light of these subtle colors, one can gain an attunement to different beings, different frequencies, different aspects of the 7 rays. For these 7 rays, we think of them as colors, but the color is just an emanation from an actual conscious being. And these conscious beings are filled with intelligence, and the intelligence of these beings are producing the color and producing the emotions that we experience when we observe these colors. For color is a powerful trigger of emotion. This is why color is so important. This is why color has such a huge effect on our consciousness field, to reprogram our emotional bodies and to retune our hormones. Color is something incredible. They use it in advertising. It's on your smartphone. You're being brainwashed with color left, right, and center throughout the day. We're barely aware of how much color is used to affect the state of our consciousness because it's such a predominant part of our modern society. We can't escape advertising, and advertisers know how powerful color is, so they use it to its maximum extent, understanding quite well how color works. Edward Bernays, who's the father of what was advertising, though in the beginning it wasn't called advertising. I don't want to get into a political conversation here, but let's just say it was called propaganda to begin with, when Edward Bernays went to study with his uncle, Sigmund Freud, in how to change people's thinking and cause them to want products that were being sold. And this was started for the campaign of cigarette smoking in order to get the whole world smoking cigarettes. And they did pretty well. Obviously, they had to get the doctors in tune with it in order to agree that smoking was good for your health. So in the 50s and the 60s into the 70s, that was the propaganda that people were being fed, that smoking improved your health. People were quite gullible, yes. But the color is so powerful. The color is such a programming instrument for the subconscious because these colors represent beings, represent the guides, represent, from a shamanic perspective, the higher state of being as it's refracted to us through the different intelligences of the different beings that operate this reality through our consciousness field, bringing into alignment reality as we know it, as we experience it in the sphere of manifestation. And I had to say hello to someone. So we find that this manifestation moving through the spheres of these 7 beings operate in terms of sound, pitch, harmonics, color, and through the sphere between color and pitch of harmonics we have the manifestation, good morning, of reality occurring as it is. And it's important to recognize that when you're observing colors, you're observing the operation of beings. And from a shamanic perspective, this is well understood, that these beings are the substrate or the structuring factors of reality. and that they operate through the sphere of color, through the sphere of tone and sound, and through the sphere of the emotional, mental complexes that bind color to sound. Sorry, I had to ask my son to stop talking right on my ear. It was putting me off. A lot of distractions today, it seems, but it's such a beautiful day. The distractions are almost welcome. So understanding these 7 great beings as the manifestational factors of the 7 rays in the sphere of reality that we occupy is a great understanding, and this can lead one to connect with these intelligences, with the consciousness of these beings directly, for they are beings indeed. This is a shamanic secret that's been passed on to all the mystical traditions, and all the mystical traditions are aware of the substrate and the structuring of these beings, and how these beings created little beings out of their mingling, and how those little beings created little beings out of their mingling, and how those beings, and so we have this myriad of intelligences and structures of diversity which come essentially from the state of unity, from the first eon, from the first being, BushWhisperer, or what the Greeks like to call that which is behind the Christus, which is the anointed oil that attunes one to the consciousness of this being, that being which is worshipped in the Christian church in all religions around the world. BushWhisperer being a word that comes from the Vedic tradition, by the way, Christus the Greek. And with those 3, we've got quite a broad spectrum when we look at it. The Germanic is related through these traditions as well. Very, very ancient one, the Germanic tradition. So understanding how these beings operate is important if one wants to attune with the vibrational fields of consciousness and energy and information that they are able to carry, hold, and bring into our consciousness field for the sake of wisdom, understanding, and healing. The greatest way is to do so through color and sound. Understanding how color operates is great, and this observation of the sun across water will give one an insight into which particular consciousness is working at that particular time. And when one attunes to the energetic vibrational field of life force, one will be gaining a very powerful connection with that particular being. So here is a little bit of a secret from the shamanic tradition, how powerful the sun is and how much we can gain from the sun. People think watching the sunrise is beautiful. It is. It's a great thing to do. It's very inspiring. It also attunes the hormones and brings the alignment of one's consciousness field into balance and harmony so that the life force can move through one in a very productive and positive way. Though it can also be a great teacher, for nature is always speaking to us. And as one attunes to the color spectrum brought through the sun, one can also start to notice that there are vibrational tones and harmonies of sound. Inner tones change as well as per these color frequencies shifting across the water. And so next time when you see the sun rising or sunset, try and do so near water. Make it a part of your day. Go to water. Go and experience what I'm talking about directly. A lake, especially a large lake, would be very, very good for this. It doesn't have to be that large, because you'll find that a body of water will create this field of vision that we're talking about. And this is because of the diamagnetism of water and the way in which light becomes repolarized when it touches water from the right angles. So I hope that has been an enlightening concept and some information that you can use practically, as well as bring into understanding just exactly how these 7 rays operate. And hopefully it can make your life a bit better. This is the BushWhisperer, coming at you from the most beautiful penguin sanctuary in the whole world. I hope you have an absolutely awesome day. Om Shanti 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 Shanti.